Stevens on your left, Tubergen on your right. Both these players 10 and 2, number 6 and 28 respectively on the SCG Tour leaderboard. It's Green-White Company versus Affinity, and it looks like Tubergen is going to be on the play with the Darksteel Citadel, a Mox. Oh, boy.
Steel Overseer, so
yeah.
Path or bust.
Well, it's Noble Hierarch, which isn't a bad card, but it's no path for that Steel Overseer. And Tubergen's going to follow up here with a geez.
And we're done.
We're done.
I was actually about to say, and we're on to game 2.
We are done here.
But like sarcastically, like I typically do. But Todd actually knew. He knows. You know what?
Talk to me.
Aside, Todd Stevens is climbing my human being power ranking index.
Oh yeah.
With every tournament.
Who's on this ranking index? No, name because there's got
Pieter. Also, I've actually been hanging out with.
You're a big Pieter guy.
Hanging out with Pieter a little bit more frequently. He's a cool guy too. But
what about our boy from Cincinnati? Andy.
Oh, Andy Ferguson? I haven't seen him in a minute.
My boy.
I miss him. Andy, come out to a tournament.
There you go.
If you're around. Hope you're doing well.
Todd Stevens with a snap concession.
Well, you know, when Todd first started coming around the tour, there was, I guess part of it is he was not necessarily the most conversant with us. He was sort of getting his feet wet with the tournaments and the way that he dresses. I thought there was a certain stuffiness to him. Not the case. Yeah. Todd Stevens gets down and conceding on the second turn. Going turn 1 bird, turn 2 conceding combat, that's my kind of play.
There you go.
That's a line that typically only I find.
We'll gush more about Todd Stevens in a moment, but first a few messages from our sponsors. We are back, getting ready here to watch Todd Stevens and Pieter Tubergen, game number 2 of Green-White Company and Affinity, as game number 1 lasted 2 turns. So we start with Todd Stevens, who does have goods for this matchup: 3 Surgical Extraction, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Stony Silence, Eidolon Rhetoric, Elspeth Sun's Champion, Eldritch Evolution, Gideon's Intervention, Kataki, War's Wage, Hater in the house. I'm not sure which is a bigger hate card between Kataki and Warship.
Yeah, Warship, Kataki, 2 Stony Silence, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Engineered Explosives. Just a great sideboard here. Todd has a lot of catching up to do in this matchup, as we witnessed in game number 1, and bringing in 7 or 8 very good cards.
For Pieter Tubergen, he's got 2 Gear Palliative Grids, 2 Stubborn Owls, 2 Thoughtseize, and a whole bunch of 1-ofs here in Dispatch, Rest in Peace, Warship, Vandal Blast, Whip Flare, Ensnaring Bridge, Grafdigger's Cage, Ceremonious Rejection, and a Stain the Mind.
I think you'll see the Grafdigger's Cage come in here along with the Dispatch. I don't know about the Warship. That's right on the line for me.
Yeah?
Because Todd might be able to kill all your stuff if the game goes on long enough.
Todd can also kill the Warship.
Yeah, so probably leave that one at home. But the Dispatch and the Grafdigger's Cage, sign me up.
Okay. Well, there are your options as these players take a look at their opening hands here, and we'll be underway here in game number 2 in just a moment. Stevens looking to play more than 2 turns, give him the green light, and he'll play a Noble Hierarch off of Temple Garden. Not a bad start. Saw that last game, and then he died. Blinkmoth Nexus, a Vault Scourge. Mox Opal. All right, let's see if old Todd's got a Stony Silence. He just drew one. Okay. Well, there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the attack.
Yeah.
It's good attack.
It's still good.
It's good attack.
Is this an activated ability? No.
No. As far as I know, attacking is not an activated ability. Oh, yeah. Ornithopter here now.
Somehow less threatening than it was in the last game.
Real tough guy over here, that Stony Silence. Real tough guy.
Yeah, don't slide it away like it's innocuous. Or
real tough guy.
Todd trying to be a gentleman over here, not make a big deal out of it.
Here's a Courser of Crewfix, top card, Ghost Quarter. Going to gain a life. See the next card here in a moment. Oh, okay.
Yeah. The second one's not very... I mean, the first one, what do you do with the second copy even?
You play it in case they kill the first one.
I know.
That's what you do.
Yeah, we're going to game 3 here in a moment.
Are you sure? How sure are you?
So the play that I prefer to the Stony Silence and just sliding it over the end of the table is sliding it over face down and saying, I don't want to make a big scene.
Okay.
But you should know.
But this is a thing.
You should know.
Okay.
Because, your friends and family might be watching, and I don't want to. I don't want to make it that sort of thing.
They're definitely watching. Dispatch.
Bang.
On the courser. That'll be exiled, given the Metalcraft has to hide the Stony Silence. You see, he had to turn it face down.
So here's
per
the
your
thing.
request.
Here's the thing. Todd already did Pieter a solid here by packing this game up in game 1. Oh. Okay. Okay.
You thought it was over? Noble Hierarch down. It's not over.
Okay.
Play new Mox.
Oh, all right.
Shoot that bird. Now, unfortunately for Pieter, Todd has a Collected Company in hand, I believe. Also has your Jamoka's command.
Ooh. Make him sacrifice that enchantment.
It's a good choice.
Damage done here a little bit by Pieter, but very important for Stevens to be able to remove that Aether Grid off the table.
I think it's a +1/+1 and make you sack an enchantment. Nice. Pass the turn back. Tubergen going to quickly untap and draw. Actually, yeah, we missed something. Hold on. What lands does Pieter have out? Okay, Spire, never mind. Spire, never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, how did he cast that Aether Grid? But he cast it with the Spire, so never mind.
He good.
Yeah, we're good.
He's good.
So my brain's broken. It's okay. Another Ghost Quarter.
Too much time on Twitter.
No such thing. Best website on the planet. Going back over to Pieter. Springleaf Drum. Company going to resolve or Spell Pierce? It will resolve.
Be surprised if Tubergen had brought in the Spell Pierce this year.
Me too. Man, not a great company. Now the Reliquary is not bad, though. So head back over to Todd Stevens. He'll draw a card. I think he may have just drawn a Courser. Yeah. Top card. Eldritch Evolution.
Yeah, I think Stevens probably brings this one in any matchup where his creatures are not going to get killed and he's not going to face a lot of counters. It's a really good deal with a very high risk associated. And brings it in the matchups where the risk is very low.
Interesting. Fire that up. Ghost Quarter your Nexus. Tubergen does run a couple of basics here. Actually, no, never mind. One island. Sometimes I've seen him run a mountain because he does play a red-blue version of this deck. With the lands here for him, Citadels, Inkmoth Nexus, Blinkmoth Nexus, couple Spires, one Glimmer Void, and a basic island. Play a Springleaf Drum. I like the nice pile of artifacts that do nothing.
The trash can.
Mm-hmm. Reclamation Sage on top now. That's a good name for it. Here's an attack for 2. All right, pass the turn back. Tubergen here with 3 lands, Blinkmoth Nexus Island, and Spire of Industry, along with a Vault Scourge, an Ornithopter, now an Arcbound Ravager, to go along with 2 drums, Darcel Citadel, and a Mox Opal, which have been rendered useless, given the Stony Silence that Todd Stevens has on the battlefield. Reclamation Sage to draw, Rain-Ep Excavator to reveal.
And it's, well, Stevens still may shovel this away, but he can start getting busy on some lands.
Mm-hmm. He will shuffle it away. Looks like he floated a little bit of mana. Can get himself a Wooded Foothills here off of the Night of the Reliquary activation. Top card's Path to Exile. That's not a bad card, but he'll shuffle that one away too. So Wooded Foothills will allow Stevens to search up a land. He'll get a basic for us. Lose 1 from the fetch, gain 1. from the Courser, so he'll stay neutral.
And I think Steven's just hunting for a land here on the top of the deck to trigger the Courser with.
I agree. Engineer Explosives. No, he just keeps revealing the nuts instead every time.
And shuffles it. It's just not good.
Shuffles
doesn't matter.
it away.
Doesn't matter. Don't care.
Yeah. Let's see. Which busted card does he want to cast? Reclamation Sage, Second Stony Silence, or Eldritch Evolution? Looks like it'll be Eldritch Evolution. Sack there. We might see him play. We might see him go get Excavator. Oh no, this fun one instead.
Oh
Got
man,
it.
That's a combo.
You get it
with a lot of the Stony Silence, for example, and the Ghost Quarter.
Yes. Yes, Kataki. War's Wage is the card we'll take a look at now. There's a forest for the Courser. He's even found lands. Birds of Paradise will be the draw next turn, potentially. The follow-up, Reclamation Sage. Blow up your Vault Scourge. Are we having fun yet? Hiya!
One person is.
Fun is zero-sum.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes at the expense of someone else's.
That's correct. Ah, yes, Eldritch Evolution. It does exile upon resolution. I think it's probably a good idea that it does that.
I think too much of the recipe with that card would be getting a creature that can get a spell out of your graveyard.
Like
Otherwise,
like Eternal Witness.
Yeah,
Maybe that would be a problem.
That would be the thing
Yeah.
to do, or too much of the thing to do.
Yes. I'm inclined to agree with you.
Just want to. Tubergen now with the interesting decision: do you want to pay the upkeep on your useless cards, or just go into your turn with all of your mana and nothing good to cast?
Well, those will go away thanks to Kataki.
And now we begin to Ghost Quarter.
Yes, we go to this phase of the game. Todd Stevens looking to leave Pieter permanentless. And so play a Blinkmoth Nexus and simply pass the turn back. Birds of Paradise to draw. Top card, Forest. Play that Forest off the top of your deck. Trigger, gain a life. Look at the next card thanks to the Courser. Another Courser. Stevens will attack with Reclamation Sage and Courser of Crufix. How long does Tubergen want to endure this? That is the question now. Stevens will float a green.
Ghost Quarters. Ghost Quarters.
There you go.
Yes.
Ghost Quarter guy. Yep.
Yes.
There you go.
No more.
Todd Stevens will win game number 2 here over Pieter Tubergen. Green-White Company has tied things up against Affinity. Didn't win on turn 2, but technically he kind of did.
Close enough.
Kind of did.
Well, the Aether Grid gave Tubergen an actual shot in that game, but once that was blown up, then that was that.
Players will go back to the sideboard here for just a moment. We'll take a quick break and watch game number 3. Just a sec. Ready for their third and final game. Both these players 10-2, very much in top 8 contention. As Tubergen will be on the play here. He just got decimated by a Stony Silence, a whole bunch of Ghost Quarters, and Eldritch Evolution finding Kataki War's Wage. He's hoping maybe Stevens will dial it back here a little bit.
Yeah, he's up. He's up.
Yeah, no need for all that, man. Just trying to have a friendly game out here. And we got 11 copies of Affinity in day number 2, 4 copies of Green-White Company being spearheaded by Todd Stevens, of course. Deck that he is so well known for in Green-White Company. Tubergen, though, an Infinity Maestro. A lot of success with this deck. And he demonstrated yesterday in his match against Chris Anderson a never say die attitude and a real understanding of how to play when situations get tough.
Yeah, very heads-up play in a variety of spots that looked pretty bad and without a whole lot of room to navigate.
Peter, I know someone that you said you started to become pretty fond of, and I think we're going to see more of him here on the SCG Tours. We'll take a moment to learn more about him. He has a pretty good one there with Affinity. That's where most of the open top 8s and wins come from for the 26-year-old from Nazareth, PA. He's got 2 awesome rescue cats named Mox and Meme. Loves himself a little bit of Overwatch, and the Pepsi hat that we always see when he plays Magic, well, it's a family heirloom from his grandfather. It's not that cold in here. He just loves wearing it. That's all. As for Todd Stevens, you won't find a Pepsi hat. You'll find a suit and tie in most instances for the 32-year-old, who is from Denton, Texas, but now lives in Roanoke, Virginia, providing content for Star City Games. He was inspired to dress nice by the character Neil Caffrey from the TV series White Collar. Flew to Australia by himself when he was 16 to play in a tennis tournament, and he is a full-time Magic streamer and player here on the SCG Tour, and a pretty darn successful one, too, as the member of Team BCW.
Racking up dubs with his favorite thing to do. Just these 3-mana green creatures that care about lands and sort of draw cards.
And ghost quarter you into the ground.
Yep. Good to have passions.
I mean, Todd Stevens just one day had a bad experience against Tron, and he's just like, never again. This is never happening again to me.
Well, it's somewhat speaks to the moral hazard of playing control decks is the amount of time in minutes that you spend winning the game is way more than half, because when you lose, you are conceding before you take your second turn. And when you win, it looks like the other way. So you get to have a lot of fun because you're spending a lot of time winning the game.
I'm trying to think of the last time Todd Stevens registered a modern deck that did not have 4 copies of Ghost Quarter.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I can't recall too much of his history prior to playing Green White Company.
E-Tron.
That's right. And he played the Bant Eldrazi with Tarmogoyf deck for a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of started that up a little bit. This guy loves himself a Ghost Quarter. Probably an underrated card, honestly.
A lot of the power is concealed by the fact that a lot of it comes from the threat of being able to use it concerning your opponent's plays, even if you don't touch it.
All right, Tubergen's going to scry here from his mulligan. And that card will go to the bottom. Darksoul Citadel, Springleaf Drum, Mox Opal, Metalcraft. That will allow him to play Vault Scourge at the cost of 2 life, pass the turn back. So 4 of the 6 permanents that Pieter started with are on the battlefield. He'll draw a card. Is it another one of those cranial plating games? Is there's a Spire of Industry? The answer is yes. Well, we saw Todd Stevens concede to less last round. We'll see if he's got a Kataki or something like that here in game number 3 as he draws a Dromoka's Command. Reclamation Sage isn't bad. That's going to blow up cranial plating, pass the turn back over to Tubergen. Does Tubergen maybe have another plating? The answer is yes. In again.
And Tubergen with no creature lands right now, so if something happens to this Vault Scourge or the cranial plating, he's got very little left over after the mulligan, just 1 card in hand.
Steven's already down to 8. He has multiple copies of Birds of Paradise, and I think he's actually got 4. 1 on the battlefield, 3 in the grip. Those are the white bordered cards. Then also has a copy of Dromoka's Command. He'll start by attacking for 2. There's a Birds. There's Horizon Canopy. I wouldn't get too cute with it. Probably just do it now, right? If you're going to Dromoka's Command.
I think so, yeah.
Yep, he's going to give his Birds +1/+1 and then fight the Vault Scourge. Wants to keep his Reclamation Sage around. Tubergen will gain a little bit of life from the fight. And so Pieter's got a lot of life to work with.
And Pieter definitely drawing to Aether Grid here as well. Be a huge draw. But you definitely need some sort of threat card to follow this up with.
He's got an Ink Moth next. It's not the worst draw I've ever seen. The follow-up there is an Archon Ravager. Okay, you wanted a threat card. You got it. He's got something to work with. He'll equip the Archon Ravager and pass the turn back over to Stevens, who's picked up a white card of some sort. Looks like it may be a Path to Exile here for Todd. Also has a Courser of Crufix in hand. Now would not be the worst time to deploy it, but we of course defer to the Master and the Mayor of Value Town. He'll deploy some Birds and simply pass the turn back. Tubergen will draw.
Tubergen probably contemplating here whether or not he wants to move the plating onto the Nexus and start doing the infect thing.
Yeah, switch gears for a little bit, perhaps.
Not a lot of to be done on the ground right now because of the reclamation stage. Going to the Nexus is tough in the face of Ghost Quarter. Not an inspiring set of attacks or options for Tubergen right now.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. Not a ton for Pieter to do. He will fire up old Inky, though. And Ghost Quarter is going to take care of that. Tubergen will float a mana. He will eat that Inkmoth Nexus with a Ravager.
Yeah, it doesn't need the island that bad right now. But he needs to get the Arcbound Ravager to be large enough to run over the Reclamation Sage, if that's the block that Stevens makes.
Another plating.
Player finish your turn, and you have 5 additional turns. Once again, standard classic players, that is time in the round.
Reclamation Sage will block. Pieter will eat a plating. Path to Exile is quite the blowout.
Yep.
Tubergen will search up the island. And it looks like Stevens may have just drawn Collected Company, and if that's the case, he's in pretty good shape. He's going to start things off with a Courser. Raiment of Excavator is what he'll find.
An Excavator is not the worst thing to have on top of your deck here, as it's an insurance policy should Tubergen find another Nexus to rebuild with.
Stevens finds another land there with Temple Guard. Now the Reliquary on top of the deck. Reclamation Sage coming into the red zone. Tubergen's got a lot of life to work with, but he's in some serious trouble now. He's got to draw some real good ones off the top.
Yeah, I think he needs an Aether Grid this turn to keep going.
Thoughtcast isn't a bad start. Etch Champion is what I'd be hoping for if I'm Pieter.
Etch Champion would be not the worst either.
Instead, he'll just be passing the turn over to Todd Stevens. If you're Todd Stevens, you're interested in finding Kataki, but he will start with Collected Company on his upkeep.
Yeah, doing it now because he knows the top card of his deck is Knight, so that's a good one to have in your top 6 if you're playing Collected Company.
Tracker and Knight. Rest will go to the bottom. Take a look at the top card. Kaboom. He's done a nice job of sequencing. Kaboom. Another explosives on top. In for 4. And a passing of the turn. Tubergen didn't play any of the cards off of that Thought Cast, so I'm curious as to what's going on in his hand.
Yeah, any threat card you'd imagine would get played.
Inkmoth Nexus. Not much to worry about there, given the active Knight of the Reliquary there for Todd Stevens, which can find, of course, his favorite land in Ghost Quarter. Wooded Foothills will be the land he plays off of the Courser. He'll go up to 8. We'll see the top card of his deck here in just a moment. He'll also get a clue from the tracker. Well, hello there. Kataki War's Wage. Sack a clue. Draw Kataki.
It is getting cinched in right now.
It sure is. What kind of wrestling submission move do you think Todd Stevens uses? He's such a nice guy.
Right. Had to be sleeper hold.
I see a wrist lock.
Wrist lock, yeah.
Maybe something that doesn't hurt too much.
Right. Has to be a very gentlemanly. You need to tap out, but I'm not
it
trying.
hurts just enough.
Right.
Yeah, that no more.
Armbar.
Somehow I doubt he uses one of Jericho's 1004 moves. Somehow I doubt that. Here comes Stevens with tireless tracker. That's a 4-3. Courser a 2-4. Reclamation Sage a 2-1.
Kataki, interestingly enough, occupying the same spot in the playmat where he moved the Stony Silence to last game.
We've noticed that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's his you can't possibly win zone.
But I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it.
That's also true. Again, that's how nice Todd Stevens is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I'm just going to slide this over here.
Not trying to make a big deal.
Temple Garden will be the top card. Ghost Quarter was found. That's at the ready to take care of the Inkmoth Nexus, potentially the Spire of Industry. What do we have here? Stevens at 9-2. This is Pieter paying for Kataki. That's what that was. Wasn't sure if that was an end of turn effect or not. That's why you see him lose the Spring Leaf Drum. And Pieter, as the old saying goes, you can't fight the tide forever. And I'm not sure how he can get himself out of this one. He'll start by playing a new Mox. Edge Champion has finally arrived. Is it too late, though, is the question. New Mox again. There's an equip. He might be able to play on here.
Well, that would explain why he was not doing anything the last couple of turns. His hand was just a bunch of Moxes.
Stevens, look how smart. He knows his clue is an artifact for Kataki. And just says, I'll let that go. Path to exile the draw. Keep in mind Stevens has not one but two copies of Engineered Explosives in hand. With the green and the white mana, with Temple Garden and Forest, plus birds being able to generate any mana, he can set explosives to 3. It's probably worse for him if he does that because he'll clear out a lot of his stuff. So he can always just set it for 2 and blow up plating.
There also might be lines that where he can cut Tubergen off of Metalcraft and handle the champion that way.
It's also true.
You got options.
Right now, Edge Champion, a 6-power creature. 2 base power, cranial plating providing +4/+0. Stevens will sacrifice a forest to Neither Reliquary after floating a little bit of mana, dig up a Ghost Quarter, get another clue.
You want to cut him off of the non-artifact lands here to make paying for Kataki prohibitive.
Keep in mind, Tubergen only has 1 basic in his deck. It's on the battlefield currently, an island. Top card there is a Noble Hierarch. This is an Engineered Explosives for 1. Just for 2, excuse me. He had a green mana floating. Ghost Quarter going to go after Spire of Industry. That'll just be Strip Mine now, folks. Ghost Quarter going to go after Inkmoth Nexus. And now he's really cinching it in.
Yep.
Yes.
It's been cinched in for a minute, but we're hitting the point where Tubergen's no longer going to be able to keep cards in play.
And we're throwing up Excavator in hand as well. Stevens can really turn up the heat on these Ghost Quarters. Pieter, well, he's got 4 artifacts that require him to pay 1 mana.
Right, I mean, he gets the Mox and the Citadel can pay for itself, and then you got 1 mana against your other 2 artifacts.
And if you pay for that cranial plating, which is kind of what Todd wants you to do.
Then he has explosives to keep you off Metalcraft, and then you can't even attack.
Correct. So the plating will bite the dust. Tubergen will draw. I believe Springleaf Drum may have been the draw there for Pieter. This overwhelming presence from this Greenway Company deck. The ability for this deck to just be so flexible in these two colors. Something you wouldn't really expect, but we see it time and time again here with Todd Stevens. As he'll sack a clue and draw a card. Tracker gets a little bit bigger. Picked up a Noble Hierarch. Sack a clue, draw a card. Tracker gets 5. This 5th counter. Eldritch Evolution added to the grip. Kataki will make Engineer Explosives cost a little bit more, but Todd says, I don't need this anymore, so he'll let that just bite the dust. Excavated the draw. Top card, Path to Exile. Not sure the best thing for Stevens to find here with Eldritch Evolution. He would know much better than you and I. Though I am curious to see how he wants to move forward with this turn. Looks like it'll be explosives for 0. Blow it up, take care of the mocks.
That puts Tubergen off of Middlecraft.
Path will take care of that, and we are all done, folks. Todd Stevens is going to win this match here over Pieter Tubergen. 2-1. Green-White Company will take care of Affinity. It was a short first game for Todd Stevens, but the second and third one went a little bit longer, and that's exactly where he wants to be.